Hey guys, how is everyone? It is dark in here because it is currently 1:44 in the morning and I just got home. I took myself to see a movie, spent some time with myself, and I actually was inspired to do that after watching a video on YouTube called How to Be Alone. You guys should watch that if you haven't already. It's a very inspirational and very beautiful video. So I took myself out tonight, enjoying my own company alone, and I went to see the movie After Earth. And previously I had looked up some reviews of this movie and it got some bad reviews, and a lot of critics were giving it a bad review. So, I didn't really know what to expect going in there, but after seeing it, I gotta say, that movie had so many messages in it dealing with spirituality that I thought I was like blown away. It was beautiful. And a friend of mine also did the How to Be Alone, I guess you can say, not challenge, but experience, and she said that she cried twice when she saw it. So it was very spiritual and very moving. So I decided to come and try to make a quick video for you guys, just giving you my analyzation of the movie and why you should see it, and just, because you don't see a lot of this stuff in Hollywood nowadays, and I'm going to go a little bit more into that in a second. But first, I just want to light a candle that I have here, because I like having candles around, especially when doing things like this. It's just gets the energy flowing, and I find that they can be very energetic. And I have a nice blue one here, which is awesome for the throat chakra. Ooh. And I also, I like to have candles lit, because they're an energy source. And sometimes it's just like easier for the spirits to come through. I'm trying to show you guys a candle. I got this holder. I think it was TJ Maxx. It's pretty cool. It's easier for the spirits to come through and to speak through you if they want to, and you want to allow it. So, got my candle there. Okay, so when I first went in to see the movie, I gotta say that I was starting to agree with the critics. I first thought, wow, like, this is really lame. But getting more and more into it, when I say more and more into it, I don't mean like the end or towards the middle. I mean like the middle beginning of it. Getting a little bit more into the script past the opening scene, it starts to delve in more, get more interesting, and then farther into the movie, it gets even more in depth, and it gets very philosophical and very spiritual. So if you guys see me looking down, it's because after I saw that movie, I actually broke out my notebook and basically wrote a little review or analyzation, because I really wanted to share this with you guys. That's how important I felt it was, and it still is. So if you see me looking up, that's what I'm looking at. There were and spoiler alert, because I am going to talk a little bit about some of the things that were in there, but this isn't like a review, so it's not in depth spoilers. It's very touched very briefly on little things that are not like going to tell you the ending of the movie or anything like that. So just little details. Okay, so there were so many messages about the spirit and the law of attraction. Now, when I've in the past recently have talked about different things that I'm trying in my practice, and law of attraction is one of the main things that I've been focusing on, incorporating that into my practice and just into my daily life. For those of you who haven't seen The Secret, you should watch it. It touches a lot on law of attraction, and it's the same method you use when casting a spell, you know, generating energy and adding focus to the mix and thinking certain things, visualizing certain things to attract those things to you. So I saw that a lot of that was in the movie, because this whole thing is about fear, and you know exactly what fear is and how we manifest it within our own minds. But in reality, fear doesn't really exist. And it was one of the main quotes from the movie that Will Smith, I forgot the name of his character, said in the movie, but he actually says, excuse me, still getting over my allergies, but he actually said, fear is something that hasn't happened yet. It's a figure of our imagination. We fear something that hasn't happened yet. It's a figure of our imagination. Fear doesn't exist. And that was something that I took as a very profound quote. And of course, M. Night Shyamalan, as the producer of this film, I'm not sure how much. He's a producer, so most likely he had a hand in the script or wrote the script. And his movies are always phenomenal, and they always carry this awesome message. And I could see me just being a kindred spirit with his work. So, you know, he questions things in his films that aren't usually addressed in mainstream media. So I'm just going to bring it back a little bit. Had a message about the spirit, message about law of attraction. Basically, and like I said, law of attraction is like the main ingredient in everything. It's like a secret to the universe. I'm debating whether or not to post this video because I am very tired and trying to talk to you guys. But there's just so much I want to share. So, there were scenes in the movie where there was this alien, pretty much, and the alien could smell fear. And, you know, Will Smith and his son, as you know, both star in the movie. And Will Smith is injured, seriously injured. And his son has to kind of go out into this jungle to find a beacon to shoot a signal out into space so that they can be found, a locator beacon. And in the jungle, there are all these things, creatures. Basically, Earth has adapted to the elements that mankind injected into it, and has adapted to this new environment. People haven't adapted to it. They had to be evacuated. Some died. But, you know, the industrial civilization and just the whole way of life that kind of destroyed Earth. It didn't really destroy Earth, but it destroyed a home for the people. So now it was like a new home for these animals, and with different weather patterns and conditions, just a very more volatile environment. And there was also aliens that were attracted to Earth. And one of these aliens they brought on a ship and on the ship that crashed, and it got loose. So he basically has to make this journey through this jungle, through earth, through this forest to go get the beacon. And there is this like, you know, man-killing, man-eating alien there that smells fear and does things to kind of evoke fear out of people. Like it's saying, like its signature sign, its signature is like when it kills someone, it'll stick them up on a tree or something like that, so that if another human is walking by and see that and they're afraid, the human would emit pheromones out of the skin, and then the animal can track the human like that. So this thing feeds off of the fear and it evokes it. Okay, so, and honestly, I think that that creature was just a symbolism of, you know, just situations and obstacles, tasks, initiations that we have to go through in order to overcome fear and in order to grow, to learn ourselves. And if you watch it, you will understand what I'm saying. But I don't want to give away too much of the movie because those wanting to see it, I just kind of want to give a sense of how in depth and deep it is and why you should see it. So you have the sun there, and whenever he fears, he attracts this monster. So like this monster is basically can represent all the negative things that come to you when you put out this energy. Like they, you know, drew attention to the fact that, okay, bam, you have the emotion is fear, and then you freeze, which makes you unable to protect yourself, unable to think, and then 2, you put out these pheromones. Now, just as you put out pheromones, you also put out energy, because it's a thought that you create from your imagination that makes you fear. And when you create a thought is a wave pattern. A thought is a wave pattern. A wave pattern is energy. You put that energy out into the universe, and the universe manifests. So in this movie, they put that energy out into the universe, and you basically manifest this alien. The alien is attracted to it, it finds it, you manifest it, you bring it to you. So the main lesson was to learn how not to fear, and to learn how really there isn't anything to fear. The only reason you create the fear is because you're thinking of possible future things that might happen that haven't even happened yet. If they haven't even happened yet, why worry about them? You know, he mentioned danger is real. Yes, there is danger, and there is uncertainty, and that is why a lot of people do fear. But if it hasn't actually come into your life, and it hasn't manifested itself, you just thinking certain things could manifest it. Why don't you do the opposite and think nothing at all, or think positive things and attract those things to you and attract those things into your life? Once, you know, the character learned not to fear, it was able to gain control of the situation and actually excuse me, and actually get a handle on the situation and turn things around, because they turned around their mindset. Turning around their mindset, they turned around their willpower, their ability, their capability, what was within their capability and what they were able to do. They pulled themselves out of a state of helplessness and pushed forward and attracted, you know, with those positive thoughts, attracted positive energy, and was able to overcome the situation, was able to center, was able to focus, was able to ground. Just going through my notes, because I'm not really reading as I have it here. So you might say, it's just a thought, or it's just, fear, but it's just an emotion. But what people tend to not realize is that when you have a thought or you have an emotion, it's energy. Your emotions are around you like a sea, and they shift in energy and in wave patterns based on whatever feeling it is that you're feeling. Your thoughts do the same thing, except they're not like around you like a sea. They are in your mind, and that affects you on its own level. But on another level, when you think it, it's like a rocket. You shoot it out through that wave pattern of thought into the universe, and that in itself will have a ripple effect, and then it'll come back to you. You have to realize that you're pretty much like a demigod. You're you're a part of the divine because you were created from the divine. So when you think something, you are manifesting it. Just that easy. Because you have the power to do that. So think of yourself as a demigod or a demigoddess, because you have the energy of the divine inside you, and you can manifest things just by thoughts, feelings, and words. And people tend to forget that. So, you're doing like these little miniature manifestations or spells just by thinking something or feeling something or saying something. And you might think, well, isn't there a filter to block that, or the god or goddess or creator wouldn't allow that to happen. But you have to realize that this is a part of your life's journey to learn and grow, and getting control of your mental faculties, of your spiritual self, your emotional self, all those beautiful selves that we've been blessed with. It's a part of that earth journey. It's a part of that life process. So the creator is not going to save you from self-harming yourself just because. It's part of lessons that we have to learn through experience and through knowledge. So, knowing that, you should be very careful with the things that you think and the things that you say and that you do, because with those things you are always manifesting. Just going over the notes. So when Will Smith says, this is not quote for quote, but word for word. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. This is not word for word, but he says, you fear things that have not yet happened is a figment of your imagination. So it's in the future, a figment of your imagination. It hasn't even happened. So if I think, oh my God, this, a fire could burn my house down, and I'm afraid every time I leave, I want to check all the plugins and everything just to make sure they're out, because I'm afraid a fire might burn my house down. And then I have that energy inside of me. One, the fire hasn't occurred. It's just something that I made up in my mind. But then I'm getting afraid, and I'm putting these energies out there, and like I said, I'm manifesting it because I'm thinking it, and I'm shooting that into the universe, and I'm using my mental and spiritual powers and emotional powers, all the things that we also use in spells to manifest things, and I'm shooting that out into the universe. If you're doing that daily with negative thoughts in your head, be it fear or not, you are manifesting those things. So, it's your imagination. Like you said, you're fearing something that's in your imagination. What do we know as the pagan community, or not even just the pagan community, just, other people who know the power of the mind? What do we know about imagination? Imagination is a main tool and manifestation. So if you're imagining certain things, it's a component of manifesting it. And you have the imagination, and then once you imagine certain things, you instinctively start to feel a certain emotion when you imagine that. So you're adding another element there, which is the feeling, the emotion. You have all the makings to manifest something and like a spell. You're focusing on it. So it's, the focus of energy plus visualization equals manifestation. That is the components, the key to manifestation when you're doing a spell. So you're focusing energy, you're thinking about something, and then you're visualizing it, right? Visualizing is also known as using your imagination and causing it to manifest. So, like in the movie, my cats. Like in the movie, the character, through fear, was causing certain things to manifest and certain things to happen. The main thing being that they're playing. The main thing being that alien creature. And not only that, just bad things happening to him in general, because he wasn't grounding himself. He wasn't taking a knee. And if you want to know what taking a knee is, watch the movie. But I'll just tell you a little bit. It's basically a stance, a position. There, I gave it away. It's a position. So it's symbolic. Taking the knee is symbolic of grounding yourself and regaining a hold of the situation, clearing your mind, taking control of your mind, your body, your thought, and your spirit, getting a grasp on things, and then regrouping and doing it all over again, because you have the power to do that. You're in control in the situation, and you have the power to change the situation. Not only the physical power, you have the mental power. You have the emotional power, the spiritual power, the drive, the force. Okay? Got a little bit Star Wars on you there, but you have the force. You do. So, yeah. So, turning the page. Doing that action of grounding or taking a knee, it just linked the character back. What the character's doing is linking himself back into the energetic spiritual web that we all are connected to, linking himself back into the Zen, back into the divine, back into the spirit, getting a hold of oneself and getting a hold of the higher self. So every time the character did that, that is what he was doing, and he was able to think clearly again. He was able to not live from the emotional side of things, and able to handle the situation. And that is what we should do anyways in our daily lives when you feel yourself getting out of control. It's like it's like a form of meditation, grounding, getting in contact with your higher self. The higher self is a guide, and his higher self became a guide for him in this movie, Jaden, that little baby. Okay, so there were also some awesome scenes in there about nature and the beauty of nature, and what we're doing to the earth, what the future could be like. It's a reason why it's called After Earth. It's after, it's still Earth, but it's the After Earth. No more humans on it. There's a lot of messages in that movie, and people think, oh, this was great, fiction, but a lot of films they might be labeled as fiction in the genre, but in reality, they aren't fiction. They have a lot of truths to it. They have a lot of symbolism relating back to what is actually going on in the non-fiction world. So, there was a beautiful scene in there with an eagle that I don't want to tell you too much about, but for those of you who are connected with nature, when you see that scene, you'll know why I say it was so beautiful. And I'm just going to say that when I first saw that eagle, I knew automatically that the eagle, here's a spoiler alert, that the eagle was a guide. The character didn't know that, but I knew it, because if you look at our history, eagles have been guiding us since the beginning of time. The problem is we used to speak to animals, but the problem is that, not living out in nature anymore, and not connecting back to the ancient ways, we lost animal speak, which is, the methods of speaking with animals. So he's telling this eagle, get away, go. But in reality, it was like protecting him all that time. It was guiding him. And it did one of the most ultimate acts that anyone could ever do. And it was just such a beautiful scene. And you see all this beauty in nature, and then you see the other side about how we just treat nature like a piece of shit and don't even realize that we're connected to it. And what happens when you treat your home like shit? Do you think that its foundation is not going to crumble? So what I did like what M. Night Shyamalan did is he didn't just like have the world destroy itself. It's going to be the other way around. This world is going to keep on living because it's been living for billions and bazillions of years. I just made my own word up there, but yeah, you know what I'm saying. This global warming has happened more than once throughout history, and each time it resulted in the beings that were living on the planet at that time being destroyed, not the planet. So people really need to wake up, and I think that this movie was a wake-up call in several different ways and in several different aspects. And M. Night Shyamalan, man, my heart goes out to you. You're awesome for putting this out there, and you're awesome for being able to get it out on the big screen. And Will Smith and his son, they were awesome doing the roles. Like I said in the beginning, it wasn't as captivating, but we kind of just had to get into the script a little bit more. But that doesn't even matter to me now. It's awesome, and I will give it 5 stars because the messages are what matters. And for a lot of people, all those critics that give it bad reviews, I think that the messages just flew right over their heads. They're too interested in whether or not the movie would excite the box office like the other generic films out there. What's the #1 movie now? Fast and Furious. I got nothing against Vin Diesel. I used to have a question on him. That was back in the day. No longer. That is no longer valid. But, it's like what? Fast and Furious 1520? I'm exaggerating here, but if you throw enough boobs, drugs, violence, and action into a movie, critics will give it praise. And most of them are co-conspirators with the conglomerates that own the media. They're co-conspirators, the critics, with them. And those same conglomerates are members of the secret society that control the media and work in conjunction to keep the masses concerned with trivial matters and twist the mind. So, having said that, you could also understand why it would have got all those bad reviews, because obviously it was freaking amazing. I mean, Come on, people. Okay. Like I said, when I first watched it, I thought that it was pretty much gonna suck because one, it got the bad reviews, and then the opening was kind of unannounced. The way that the movie just like came on the screen, and you were like, "Oh, it's on the screen." And then you had Will Smith's sons narrating, and you're like, okay, he doesn't kind of sound that enthusiastic, or he didn't seem as if he had that much emotion in his voice when he was talking at first, and it was kind of just sounded bland the way that he narrated it. But they can act. That's the thing, he can act. But I think that they should have got a different narrator for the beginning of the film, because he's a young boy, so he's not going to put as much enthusiasm and emotion into narrating it as somebody else who has a little bit more experience. But in terms of acting, he is superb. So that was the problem with the beginning, but kind of just jumped right into the film. You're like, oh, what happened? Oh, it's starting? Okay, but it doesn't captivate when it does that. When the film does that, it should be something that is very captivating. But the opening of the way that it was written wasn't really that captivating. So until they got onto the ship, once they got onto the ship, that's when everything changed. You were really intrigued, and then when they got into the island, that's when my whole viewpoint of the movie changed. I was like, this movie is actually friggin' awesome. So go see it and receive the messages. And remember, we are all the makers of our own destiny. So fear not, my lovelies. And until next time, much love.